1 Samuel chapter 18. A covenant between Jonathan and David. By the time David had finished speaking to Shaul, Jonathan found himself inwardly drawn by David's character, so that Jonathan loved him as he did himself. That day, Shaul took David into his service and would not let him go home to his father's house anymore. Jonathan made a covenant with David, because he loved him as he did himself. Jonathan removed the cloak he was wearing and gave it to David, his armor too, including his sword, bow and belt. Israel exalts David over Saul. David would go out, and no matter where Shaul sent him, he was successful. Shaul put him in charge of the fighting men. All the people thought it good, and so did Shaul's servants. As David and the others were returning from the slaughter of the Philistines, the women came out of all the cities of Israel to meet King Shaul, singing and dancing joyfully with tambourines and three-stringed instruments. In their merrymaking the women sang, "Shaul has killed his thousands, but David his tens of thousands." Shaul became very angry, because this song displeased him. He said, "They give David credit for tens of thousands, but me they give credit for only thousands. Now all he lacks is the kingdom." From that day on, Shaul viewed David with suspicion. Saul attempts to kill David. The following day an evil spirit from God came powerfully over Shaul, so that he fell into a frenzy in the house. David was there, playing his lyre as on other occasions. This time Shaul had his spear in his hand. And he threw the spear, thinking, "I will pin David to the wall." But David dodged out of the way twice. Shaul became afraid of David, because Adonai was with him and had left Shaul. Therefore Shaul put him at a distance from himself by making him commander over 1,000. His goings and comings became public knowledge. David had great success in all his ways. Adonai was with him. When Shaul saw how very successful he was, he became afraid of him. But all Israel and Yehudah loved David, because they knew about all his campaigns. Tricking David to fight the Philistines. Shaul said to David, "Here is my older daughter Merav. I will give her to you as your wife. Only continue displaying your courage for me, and fight Adonai's battles." Shaul was thinking, "I don't dare touch him, so let the Philistines do away with him." David's response to Shaul was, "Who am I, that I should become the king's son-in-law? I don't have any kind of a life, and my father's family has no rank in Israel." However, when it was time for Merav Shaul's daughter to be given to David, she was given to Adriel the Mechalite as his wife. But Michal Shaul's daughter fell in love with David. They told Shaul, and it pleased him. Shaul said, "I'll give her to him, so that she can entrap him, and the Philistines can do away with him." So Shaul said to David, "Today you will become my son-in-law through the second daughter." Shaul ordered his servants to speak privately with David and say, "Look, the king is pleased with you, and all his servants like you, so become the king's son-in-law." Shaul's servants said this to David. But David replied, "Do you think being the king's son-in-law is something to be treated so casually, given that I'm a poor man without social standing?" Shaul's servants reported back to him how David had responded. Shaul said, "Here's what you are to say to David. The king doesn't want any dowry. He wants 100 foreskins of the Philistines, so that he can have vengeance on the king's enemies." For Shaul was hoping to have David killed by the Philistines. When his servants said these words to David, it pleased David to become the king's son-in-law, even before the time for him to be married. David got up and set out, he and his men, and killed 200 men of the Philistine. He brought their foreskins and gave all of them to the king in order to become the king's son-in-law. Then Shaul gave him Michal his daughter as his wife. Shaul saw and understood that Adonai was with David and that Michal Shaul's daughter loved him. This only made Shaul the more afraid of David, so that Shaul became David's enemy for the rest of his life. The leaders of the Philistine would attack, but whenever they attacked, David was more successful than any of Shaul's servants, so that David acquired a great reputation.